Very central. Vive nuestros valores. On honesty, equality, and respect. Yep. Good. Looks like it just tore off the thing there. Yep. Looks like hoop houses. Oh, there's some bananas.
So we do that and we wait a couple of weeks, and that's when we make those beds in that perishable treatment. Same tray of vegetables. Melon squash, a bell pepper, and an eggplant. We can walk through it and see it, and I do want to, let me make sure, we're trying to do it so at every half hour I start, and every hour the Farmivore folks start. I know some of you started with Farmivore, but I just want to be, and if you're, we can walk over there. I do encourage you to check it out, but I have some resources up here. This is just some information about the California Center. And then the rest of these are just some of the results of some of the other trials, ones that I'm not going to spend as much time talking about because you don't want to be stuck here all day listening to me the results of all the trials that we got going on. And if anyone is comfortable, just just have a little signage, just your name and whether or not you're a California farmer, just as some of the outputs that we do, because this is all grant funded. And so part of what we're very adamant on having as one of our outputs is communicating with folks. So it's not just myself and 3 other scientists see the results of what we're doing, and we all high five that we like what we saw. We're really trying to get these results in the hands of growers, in the hands of folks who are interested, so they can maybe take bits and pieces, apply to their own operation, or just learn a little bit more about sustainable agriculture. So if anyone wants to, either now or at the end, we're just trying to get as many folks who are here. But I think at this point we can feel free. You can take a look. If you saw that the water that I poured, there's still about an inch of standing water there, and I've been talking for what might seem like a long time. And feel free to touch the soil here. It's really cool. But you can head and check out the experiment here, and you can see, I'll point out the spots where
So this is, I guess this is some, I don't know which one's the no-till and which one's the till.
On my way back.
Oh, it's okay, we'll go together.
This is the one that had the cover crop, and this is the one that was tilled.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What is the difference?
This one didn't have any tilling, and this one was the one that had been like stirred up. So
And
this
that one
had
also.
the crop.
Soil
that one,
samples. Got it. Okay, soil
yeah,
samples.
sampling pole.
Oh, that's cool.
Stick it in the ground and then you pull it up and it gives you a small sample of soil.
Good job. Good job.
You were paying attention. That's important.
Oh, I thought you worked here. I thought you were the owner, actually.
Oh, are you? Maybe he is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You could take it here. I'm just trying to get them out of here.
Young man, can you explain this to me? One? You just did. This is the one that was tilled. This kind of protection.
Other one.
The other one was tilled. Okay.
Do you want it?
Yes. Can you take it? There's one more.
Oh, you should do a degree in agriculture.
And for this one, the water that's sitting there, that was untilled. Am I correct?
I just needed the
Is this untilled?
Should we sign? Huh? I think we have to sign so
Other way
that
around. Okay.
they get credit, or they can apply for grants.
Here you go. Here.
You want to
Well,
sign?
I can't hold
Here,
all
okay,
the
take-
things.
okay. I'm gonna go over here. Watch.
Is he talking? What
his experiment to see if it was worked out.
It's in the water sample. This basically is for
harvested these peppers for several weeks. You can see the size difference in those peppers here and those couple of rows of peppers right here. As I mentioned, yep, these are from the same flat of transplants. I did one row. I have my here. They had the same header line of irrigation, so they were watered the same amount, at least as much as we could reasonably control on the same day. And so we really a research experiment. It goes with some good and bad. We controlled everything, or as much as we could, except did it or didn't have the cover crop. Now what this means is if this was a commercial operation that was trying to be as productive as possible, there would have been fertilization added, composting, something like that to add soil fertility. But what we really wanted to see, does whatever fertility we were going to get from growing these cover crops and crimping them in there, was that enough to produce a vegetable compared to a vegetable that wasn't given any added fertility to it? And what maybe you can see from just the size of the plants, and we repeated this experiment a little bit further down. So as I'm talking, if you can still hear me, you can head down and look over there, or on your way out you can see those are younger and a bit more actively being taken care of than these ones are right now. But we can see a difference in the size of all the vegetables. They because this cover crop, when we'd sample the beds, because they were protected from the sun, they were always a little bit wetter, a little bit cooler, and that resulted in even in the squash, that all of them grew pretty fast. They grew fast enough that I was able to harvest the squash from those cover crop beds a week or sometimes even 2 weeks before I was ever able to harvest from the bare soil, and I always got fewer squash from those bare soil beds. But that difference was the least different in that squash. The bell pepper, as you can see from the size, much greater above ground biomass, and in some cases a lot of those peppers never even reach maturity enough to produce harvestable yield. And what was the most dramatic was the eggplants, which are the slowest to grow, and it actually seemed like they got the most out of having just that little bit of fertilization, that little bit of environment that we created with the cover crop. Because most of the eggplants, a lot of them you can't even see because they either died out or they reached about this height and never were able to grow much out of that. So that just shows that we saw a benefit from all three of the vegetables, but the level that we saw and how quickly we were able to see those benefits was quite a bit different.
Wouldn't that be a better comparison if you would have used mulch on top rather than just bare soil to give them a chance?
Yeah, so that's an extra question, is looking at some sort of mulch or stuff. But this is some of like our first step into this kind of work, because you're right, there's a bunch of different comparisons. Another one would be in some vegetable crops you'll see the use of plastic mulch.
Yeah.
That they'll like strawberries are one that you see it routinely, because the strawberry system really the way it's done really heavily relies on that plastic. But if you go through the county, I've seen plenty of pepper fields that use that black plastic mulch again, where this was that first look at does that cover crop provide any sort of benefit? And I think you're right. The next step would be, or some of the next questions I have is if cover crop here any sort of additional fertilizer, any sort of additional composting, is it an additive effect, or is it maybe a multiplicative effect that I'm seeing a real synergy with any sort of added composting to what we were seeing with these cover crops? So you're right. This was, I think, putting them at an unfair position. But we really wanted to see, is there enough? Because when we started this experiment, we had our hypotheses, and I had my best guess, but I really didn't. I couldn't have given you very confidently an answer whether or not it would be enough for them to grow successfully.
So that's a classic way to get rid of them.
You're absolutely right. So that's other trials we've done where we've looked at instead of the bare soil, the black plastic mulch has been our control, because we found in a lot of cases that leads to really a lot of compaction to the soil when you've got those beds there. Since you don't have anything else growing other than the little space where you put that vegetable in, it leads to a pretty or a not very diverse microbial community, and that's what leads to a lot of the, or helps facilitate a lot of the problems with pathogens, with diseases in a lot of cropping systems, such as strawberries, where there's a pretty heavily reliance on fumigation. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you harvest the cover crops before you knock them down?
So the question was on harvesting the cover crop. So in this experiment, no. So we had it was a rye grain, which is a grain that can be grown and harvested, but we terminated it before that would happen, because if we waited too long and let those seed heads fill out and then we knocked it down, those seeds would scatter and then we'd have the regrowth, and at that point the cover crop regrowing is just as, it's a weed from our perspective, and there's a one solitary patch of rye along this bed that you can see it kind of sticking up there. So, but for the most part, did a pretty good job. But there's an experiment past there where we're working with the University of California Cooperative Extension on a lot of climate smart ag practices. And that one, we grew those fava beans that I showed you. They were an edible cover crop. We grew it as a cover crop, creating the nitrogen, then we did a couple rounds of harvesting. We were trying to look at, well, this is a cover crop that a grower they're not breaking the bank out of fava bean yields, but it's something that they can generate money while they're getting benefits from fertility as those cover crops grow.
Do the cover crops put more nitrogen in the soil?
It depends on what your cover crop is. So in this case, a lot of what we're doing, we're trying to include a legume in our mix, or it's at least a piece of what we're doing. If you're I'm interested in doing a cover crops on my operation, and you feel like the fertility of your soil is good, you're really trying to just put something that I want to help with the compaction of my soil. I want something that puts out really deep roots. You can buy either there's some grasses that do a really good job of that, or there are even mixes of cover crops that you can buy from a seed dealer that they have a assortment of seeds that they have things like radishes that put out, big as my leg radishes, that their job is just to break up that hard pan, and they their whole job is to assist with the structure of the soil and helping water move through it and helping that soil have better infiltration. So it's really what you're trying to
Fava
get.
wood, right? Fava wood add nitrogen, right?
Yep, fava beans are one that do a good job fixing nitrogen. Absolutely.
So what you do, cut it down or pull it out?
For this,
For the fava beans.
for the fava, we used the roller crimper in that experiment as well, and so that was a couple. We crimped all of them, and then we did a little bit more. Then we wanted to see if we just crimp it and leave it there, and then we also, once we did that, we went over it with like a rototiller to incorporate that plant biomass into the soil, because that's depending on who you ask. There's folks who have really nice operating grow cover crops, but they like to have that incorporating it in, and that helps if you're concerned about organic matter. That this on the soil surface, it's going to take a long time for it to. A lot of it's still there. It's terminated in April, and it's still a lot of biomass in the soil surface, so it's not breaking down the same way it would as if it was tilled in and incorporated. So it's really, like I was kind of saying, what you're trying to get out of your cover crop. Yep. Yeah, and absolutely in an operation where depending on because it's a research trial, like we're normally the peak production is well past, we would have done whatever, mowed it under or done whatever management practice. We're trying to consistent in all the years of data collection. So this is a 2-year trial. This is the end of it, and we're end of the year. So all sorts of extra data that just because this is a research trial, there's all sorts of things that don't make commercial sense. But
Have there been any conclusions about the quality of the artichokes after the study yet?
Can you? So that's getting wrapped up. We were looking at that's another one. Producing artichokes, plastic mulch, bare soil. We tried a couple cover crops that we flattened just like this. And we actually also tried a few living mulches or cover intercropping almost. It was some low ground cover things like clovers or tilapia.
Hmm?
See the condor over there?
Where? Oh wow, look at them.
They're like really close. I don't think I've ever been this close to one.
Really?
Flying.
Condor?
Off the top of my head, I know
Or maybe a turkey vulture. So, looks like a condor.
Yeah. Or it's hard to say.
Probably turkey vultures.
You think
Yeah.
turkeys?
How do you tell the difference?
We have a fair number of turkey vultures here. I don't
Here.
think I've ever seen a condor.
No condors in Oxnard, Camarillo, Ventura.
Redhead? No.
Yeah.
In any case, they're beautiful to watch.
Gorgeous, yeah.
The turkey vultures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Regardless of what they are.
soaring birds.
Yeah. Look, I think there's one over there too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, they're looking for turkeys.
They're looking for mice, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
things that are like that as well. But I think, like in that trial, things that don't work near as well, I think can be really